Hi, and welcome to the CAOC conversation. Today, you're here with Elise Sanguinetti, past president of CAOC.
And I'm Craig Peters. I'm also a past president from 2022.
Craig, my first question for you is, how does CAOC stand apart from the local trial lawyer organizations that we have throughout the state of California?
You know, it's interesting because I think that, there's a place for all of these trial lawyer organizations in our lives that sort of serve different purposes. And the one in my mind that's always been the most important is CAOC, because it is the one that ultimately protects our practices. It's the one that is in Sacramento, as you well know from your year as president and probably 11, 12 years on the executive committee. That's beating back these bad bills, which frequently, our members never even hear about. They don't know that there was almost this terrible bill that passed that would have wrecked their practice or changed dramatically their practice. And so, that's, for me, that's the thing that really sets CAOC apart, is there is no other organization that does that. There's other TLAs that maybe help contribute to those efforts. Certainly many do, but without CAOC, it would be a rudderless ship. So that's, in my mind, that's kind of what sets CAOC apart from the others.
I don't think I really understood the impact of what CAOC does until I went to my first lobby day as a member. And now we call it Justice Day. But really going there, talking to legislators, talking about bills that we're supporting and those that we're fighting, and them hearing the stories of our clients, which is really what our job is to do, is to message those to the people that are making bills that impact our clients' lives. Having that experience for the first time really was eye-opening to me, that I could have a voice and make a difference and change the way a legislator was thinking about voting on a particular issue. So that is something that I never had an experience with when I was involved and was president of our local Trial Lawyers Association.
Yeah. So you have an interesting and very storied background: president of AAJ, president of CAOC, president of local Trial Lawyers Associations, member of ABOTA. It's a lot of advocacy. Did you come into this profession knowing that you wanted to be a leader that would help fight for people on this kind of what I'll call sort of a macro scale, as opposed to in addition to that day-to-day fighting for your clients? Or is that something that developed over time? How did you get into all these organizations?
Great question. I did not come into plaintiff's work and think immediately about the larger impact. I was lucky enough to have I would say bosses at the time, but mentors, when I was a young lawyer, that brought me to my first local Trial Lawyers Association meeting. I sat down with Scott Sumner, who became my partner, and Peter Hinton, who became my partner later, before that first ACC TLA meeting, and they said, "This is why this is important." I didn't understand it until I really went to my first meeting, and then as time went on and as I was practicing law, I knew that I wanted to do something to make a bigger impact than I could for one individual or a family. I really wanted to make an impact where I could affect clients and potential clients all over the state and all over the country. And once I started seeing what my voice could do, I kept going with it, because I felt an obligation, actually, to go out there and fight for people that didn't even know I was fighting for them, but I could see a change being made, and that gave me a sense of satisfaction that that even being in the courtroom couldn't necessarily fulfill. I love being in the courtroom, and I'm so glad that I have an opportunity now that I'm done with all those presidencies to be back in the courtroom. But that is such an important part of my life, and I'm so appreciative for the time I was able to do it.
So if I can ask a follow-up.
Sure.
So you've been an amazing leader and helped create all kinds of good for consumers, both people who know it and those who don't. Now, kind of being past that, officially in those presidency roles, what do you see as your role now for like an organization like CAOC? What do you see as your job now as it relates to the organization?
I really see my role as helping the leaders that are in the leadership right now in any way that they ask of me, where I think I can be helpful. And to help give them background and guidance, because as you know, as a past president, there's a lot of things that we face, and we face them over and over and over again. And so they may not have been here during the terrible 200s, which I had I think I was in law school when that happened. And now we're having an epic fight with another initiative. But I have some of that background. I want to utilize and give them my input when they ask for it. I also, and I know this is important to you, but I really do feel like it's our job to reach down and encourage others to get involved and to get involved, especially in leadership. It's a really huge commitment, but I want them to hear from me what joy it brought me, and encourage them to do it, because without that, I also want it to be very diverse. And so unless we reach down and tell people, you can do this too, they may not see themselves in that role. But I had others that did that for me. So tell me about, for you, what that looks like for you. What do you think your role is as a past president now?
Yeah, similar. I think when I look back at, as a trial lawyer, at least for me, like when I look back at my trials, I always am focusing on what I did wrong. It's very little about what I did right. And so when I look back at my year as president, I look at what didn't I do as well as I would have liked to. And I felt like I didn't do as well in being proactive about targeting people that clearly had leadership skills and that would help fill some of our, I don't know if the blind spots is the right word, but fill a space that wasn't well represented within the organization, so that everybody in the organization looks at the leadership and says, there's somebody there that either looks like me or represents me in some way because of the type of practice they have, the station in life that they're in, or whatever it might be. And so that's been sort of my thing, is I want to try to be very proactive to make sure our organization has people that know those leadership skills that they're exhibiting are needed and wanted, and we will support them if they want to do it. Because I think particularly for small, there's been a little bit of a history in the organization in the past, not as much now, where people tended to need to be at bigger firms because you kind of lose a year when you're president, and I don't know that that's a good thing for the organization. And so having people who come from firms where it may be more of a challenge, to let them know during your year, we'll have your back. We'll help you with depots and cases and all of those things, so things keep rolling. But I think and then the same thing, with helping give perspective when people make up lies about what we negotiated with MICRA and what didn't happen, giving some context to that. So,
I want to thank you, because you have continued to involve me and introduce me to people to help mentor them. I have gotten a lot of joy from the introductions that you've made to women in particular, introducing me to people that you see a spark in that could become a leader in the future, and allowing me an opportunity to get to know them and to help them through that process. So thank you for doing that. And I hope that we can continue to work together in that way, because I do think it's incredibly important. Yeah,
well, and I know they appreciate when people like you and Chris Spagnoli and others who have been leaders in the past are willing to help and mentor them. They get a different perspective, obviously, than from somebody like me. So, So what do you miss the most about being president of CAOC?
I miss being in Sacramento. I really do. I love the staff that we have in Sacramento, and the voice that we have in Sacramento is so important. And it is surprising until you get into that role, how much they rely upon us as presidents and officers to be there to meet with the legislators, have dinners and lunches, and like you're scheduled all the time to meet with people, because that is impactful for them. They hear from our lobbyists all the time, but they want to meet the lawyers and they want to hear our clients' stories. That's what they really want. And so I loved doing that. Yeah. I really did. I'm thankful that I still, being close driving distance, yeah. I still get opportunities when they think it fits within my area of expertise. I also loved testifying. It's an opportunity that is very unique, and you don't go in unprepared. You have this great staff that gives you these great talking points, and you have an opportunity to have this voice in this public, very formal setting, to be sometimes the only people that are speaking on behalf of consumers. Oftentimes, I don't know if you had that experience. Yeah. I felt like we were the only ones really speaking on behalf of people, real people, and I loved doing that. So I miss that a lot.
Yeah.
What about you? What do you miss about it?
I mean, I actually miss a lot. I certainly miss the piece you just talked. I think if I'm good at asking the questions, not so good at having answers for them. But as I'm sitting here right now, I think the thing I would rank at the top is actually the interaction with the advocates, like talking with Nancy and Leanne and Clem and Jackie and Savina and you've just got such regular contact with these amazing people that are helping this organization move forward, and to be able to have that interaction on a daily basis, you're kind of always in the know. That feels great, and of course it's nice now. They all know us, right? Yeah. And so we still have great relationships, but it's different in your year as president, because the regularity of it is so great, and to be able to collaborate with them and try to think outside the box, that still happens, just not with the same kind of frequency.
Yeah. Great.
Thanks for letting us share time with you for the CAOC conversation. I'm Craig Peters.
I'm Elise Sanguinetti.
We hope to see you at the next CAOC event.
Thank you.
Beautiful.
Good.
Oh, that was so great.
0 5.